The lecture hall's artificial gravity hummed with the dull predictability of another Tuesday morning at Galactic Military Academy Station Omega-3. Professor Damon Sterling was 3 slides deep into the bureaucratic failures of the Third Galactic War when the doors exploded inward. Not literally exploded, that would have been interesting. Instead, they hissed open with the kind of urgent pneumatic wheeze that made every cadet in the amphitheater sit up straighter. Security Chief Zartek filled the doorway like a reptilian nightmare in dress uniform, his scaled hide gleaming under the harsh academy lighting. Behind him, 2 more Saurian guards flanked what looked like a floating diplomatic courier case. "Emergency Protocol Zeta 9, Zartek announced, his voice carrying the gravelly authority of someone who'd personally ended several small wars. "Immediate identification required for the human occupying seat designation 43A. Professor Sterling's stylus clattered to the floor. The holographic display flickered and died. "I'm sorry, what?" Sterling managed, adjusting his glasses with trembling fingers. "This is advanced military history. We're discussing supply chain logistics. The human, seat 43A. Now, 200 alien cadets turned in perfect unison to stare at row 43. The human in question, a figure in standard academy fatigues with short-cropped hair and an expression of mild confusion, raised one hand tentatively. "That would be me," Phoenix Blackwood said, voice steady despite the sudden attention. "Is there a problem?" Zartek's reptilian eyes narrowed to golden slits. "State your full designation and identification code." "Cadet Phoenix Blackwood, Earth Defense Initiative, serial number..." Phoenix rattled off a string of numbers that made the nearest cetacean cadet's tentacles curl with bureaucratic appreciation. The security chief consulted a datapad, his claws tapping against the screen with metallic precision. Something was wrong. His tail, thick as a human torso, had gone completely still. Never a good sign with Saurians. "Negative," he growled. "Records show no Phoenix Blackwood enrolled at this facility." The lecture hall erupted into confused murmurs. A crystalline student in the front row chimed like wind bells, translating rapid-fire questions for her podmates. Someone in the back shouted something in hive-speak that sounded distinctly like profanity. Phoenix remained seated, though their knuckles had gone white against the desk surface. "I've been here for 8 months. Check again. Database access 17 times in the last 30 seconds, Zartek replied, his voice taking on the clipped tone of barely controlled predator. "No record of enrollment, no record of arrival, no record of existence in academy systems." Professor Sterling made a small choking sound and sat down heavily in his chair. "But," he whispered, staring at Phoenix with growing horror, "you've been in my class since the beginning of term. You turned in that essay on logistics failures during the Siege of Kepler 88. You got an A-. The Siege of Kepler 88 is classified above your security clearance, Professor," Zartek said quietly. Sterling's face went the color of old parchment. "What siege? I've never heard of any siege at Kepler 88. The floating courier case chose that moment to emit a soft chime. All eyes turned to the sleek black container as it drifted toward Phoenix's seat, propelled by some internal guidance system. Its surface bore the seal of the Coalition of 1212, interlocking symbols representing the major galactic powers. "Delivery confirmation required," the case announced in a voice like crystallized starlight. "Recipient, unknown designation. Informal address. Human in seat 43A. Please provide biological verification for package release." Phoenix looked around the dead-silent amphitheater. Every face, scaled, tentacled, crystalline or chitinous, was locked onto them with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright fear. "This is insane," Phoenix muttered. Then louder, "Fine. What kind of biological verification?" The case extended a thin metal probe. "Standard procedure. DNA sample, retinal scan, and neural pattern analysis." "Neural pattern?" Sterling squeaked. "That's military-grade identification. We don't have clearance for that kind of... The probe touched Phoenix's extended finger. The case went silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then every alarm in the station started screaming at once. Red emergency lighting bathed the lecture hall in pulsing crimson. The case's surface shifted from black to blazing white, and holographic warning symbols materialized in the air around it in 17 different alien languages. "Attention!" the station's central AI announced, its normally calm voice crackling with electronic stress. "Security breach detected. Classification level unknown. All personnel maintain current positions." Zartek had his weapon drawn before the announcement finished. His guards flanked the exits, their own sidearms humming with barely contained energy. "What?" he hissed, advancing on Phoenix with predatory focus. "Are you?" The courier case pulsed brighter. Its voice, when it spoke again, carried harmonics that made several students clap their hands over their ears. "Identity confirmed. Biological markers match archived samples. Neural pattern verified against classified database. Recipient authorization, Obsidian-level clearance." Professor Sterling made a sound like a deflating balloon and slumped forward onto his desk. "Obscuring clearance," someone whispered from the back row. "That's higher than the Academy commander." The case's lid irised open with mechanical precision, revealing a medal nestled in what looked like crystallized starlight. The medal itself was simple, a dark metal disc inscribed with symbols that seemed to shift and move when viewed directly. But the documentation beneath it... Phoenix reached for the papers with hands that had started shaking. "Force services rendered during Operation Silent Thunder," they read aloud, voice growing quieter with each word. "Classification level, Obsidian. Detailed sealed by joint order of the Coalition of 12. Awarded posthumously to..." Phoenix stopped reading. Their face had gone completely white. "Posthumously?" Zartek stepped closer, weapon still drawn. "You're supposed to be dead." The case's AI spoke again, each word dropping into the silence like stones into still water. "Recipient status updated in real time. Previous death certification has been revised." That's when Professor Sterling fainted completely, toppling out of his chair with a crash that echoed through the suddenly tomb-quiet lecture hall. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was what happened when Administrator Velnara arrived. The cetacean official flowed through the lecture hall doors with the fluid grace of her species, her massive form somehow elegant despite requiring a personal gravity field to support her bulk in the station's artificial atmosphere. Her whale-song voice resonated through specialized speakers as she surveyed the chaos: 1 unconscious professor, 200 terrified cadets, 3 armed Saurian guards, and 1 very confused human holding a medal they weren't supposed to be alive to receive. "Security Chief Zartek," she harmonized, her translator rendering the complex tones into flat galactic standard. "Stand down your weapons, immediately. Administrator, this individual represents an unknown security threat. They possess Obsidian-level clearance without existing in our systems, and..." "I said stand down." The harmonic undertones in her voice made the station's hull vibrate. "That's not a request." Zartek's weapon powered down with obvious reluctance. His tail continued to lash behind him like an agitated snake. Velnara's massive eye, each one larger than a human head, focused on Phoenix with uncomfortable intensity. "Cadet Blackwood, you will accompany me to conference room Beta 9 for immediate debriefing. The rest of you will remain here until this situation is resolved." "Wait," Phoenix said, finally finding their voice. "I need answers. What is Operation Silent Thunder? Why does this medal say I'm dead? What happened at Kepler 88? "Conference room Beta 9, Fellner repeated, but her voice carried notes of something that might have been sympathy. Now, as they left the lecture hall, Phoenix caught fragments of whispered conversations in a dozen alien languages. The universal translator struggled with the overlapping chatter, producing a linguistic soup of fear, confusion, and wild speculation. Never heard of Obsidian clearance. My pod sister works in military records. She says Silent Thunder doesn't exist. Humans always hiding something. The conference room was a study in bureaucratic sterility. Grey walls, grey table, grey chairs, designed to accommodate 17 different body types. The only color came from the holographic displays that materialized as soon as the door sealed behind them. Display file. Phoenix Blackwood classified search authorization Velnara 77 Kappa, the administrator commanded. The air filled with scrolling text, dates and military designations. But most of it was redacted. Black bars covered everything except the most basic information. Name, species, general physical description. Everything else had been classified so heavily it might as well have been written in invisible ink. This is impossible, Velnare muttered, her harmonics taking on dissonant notes of frustration. I have beta-level clearance. I should be able to access basic personnel files. Phoenix leaned forward, studying the display. What about the medal documentation? That mentioned Silent Thunder. Display Operation Silent Thunder, all available files. A single line of text appeared. Operation Silent Thunder, classification level Obsidian. Access denied. Even I can't access it, Velnar admitted. Obsidian clearance requires authorization from at least 8 members of the Coalition of 12. That kind of security is reserved for... She paused, her massive form rippling with uncertainty. For threats to galactic stability. The door chimed. Security Chief Zartek entered without waiting for permission, his reptilian features grim. Administrator, we have a problem. Multiple problems. He activated his own data pad, projecting a stream of urgent communications. In the past 18 minutes, we've received priority queries from the Saurian Hegemony Intelligence Division, the Crystalline Syndicate Information Bureau, and the Hive Collective Military Command. They all want to know why an Obsidian-level security alert originated from an Academy station. What did you tell them? Velnara asked. Nothing, because I don't know anything. Zartek's claws scraped against his datapad. But they're sending representatives. Military representatives. The kind that ask questions with weapons drawn. Phoenix felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's climate control. This is about Kepler-88, isn't it? Both aliens turned to stare. What do you know about Kepler-88? Zartek demanded. Nothing. That's what's driving me crazy. I wrote an essay about the siege there for Professor Sterling's class. Logistics failures, supply chain problems, standard military history stuff, but apparently I wrote about something that's classified above his security clearance, something that officially never happened. Velnara's translator emitted a sound like whale song mixed with grinding metal. Display Kepler, 88, historical records, all files. The hologram refreshed, showing a star system with standard navigational data. 8 planets, 2 asteroid belts, classified as a minor mining operation under Crystalline Syndicate jurisdiction. Current status: active. No military action reported. According to our records, Velnara said slowly, Kepler-88 is a peaceful mining system. No conflicts, no military presence beyond standard security patrols. Certainly no siege. Then explain this, Phoenix said, pulling out their datapad and accessing their completed assignments. The essay materialized in the holographic display, filling the air with detailed tactical analysis. The Siege of Kepler-88, a case study in logistical failure during extended orbital campaigns, Velnara read aloud. The 18-month conflict demonstrated critical flaws in coalition supply doctrine. When faced with unexpected human defensive innovations, she stopped reading. The silence stretched like a taut cable. 18 months, Zartek whispered. You wrote about an 18-month siege at a system that shows no record of military action. It gets worse, Phoenix said, scrolling through their own work with growing dread. Look at the casualty figures, fleet compositions, battle analysis. I didn't make this up. I remember researching it, cross-referencing sources. checking military databases that apparently don't exist, Velnara observed. The conference room's communication system activated with an urgent chime. Administrator Velnara, priority communication from Coalition High Command. Immediate response required. Put it through. The holographic display flickered and resolved into the imposing figure of Council Speaker Ixmoth. The Hive representative's insectoid features were difficult to read, but the rapid clicking of their mandibles suggested extreme agitation. Administrator, we require immediate clarification regarding the Obsidian-level security alert from your facility. Our collective memory indicates potential connection to classified protocols involving human military capabilities. Council Speaker, we're still investigating. Investigation is no longer sufficient. Ixmoth's compound eyes glittered with multifaceted intensity. Emergency Council Session 891X has been called. All 12 Coalition members are responding. We require immediate transfer of the individual responsible for triggering this alert. Phoenix felt her stomach drop. Transfer? To where? Coalition High Command Fortress Station, Ixmoth replied, for formal inquiry regarding knowledge of classified human military operations. Venaro's harmonics took on protective undertones. Council Speaker, this individual is a cadet at our academy. They have rights under student protection protocols. Student protection protocols do not apply to individuals with Obsidian clearance, who possess knowledge of operations that officially do not exist. Ixmoth's mandibles clicked in what Phoenix was learning to recognize as the Hive equivalent of a grim smile. The transport will arrive in 6 hours. The communication ended with finality that echoed through the conference room. 6 hours, Phoenix repeated numbly. What happens at Coalition High Command? Zartek and Velnara exchanged a look that transcended species barriers, the universal expression of people who knew bad news when they saw it. Formal inquiry, Velnara said carefully, usually involves neural scanning, memory extraction, and detailed interrogation under controlled conditions. That's a fancy way of saying they're going to dig through my brain with alien technology to find out what I know about something that didn't happen, Phoenix translated. Essentially, yes. Phoenix stood up abruptly, pacing to the wall where they could stare out at the stars beyond the station's viewports. This is insane. Yesterday I was a normal academy cadet worried about passing orbital mechanics. Today I'm apparently dead, classified above my professor's security clearance, and about to be brain scanned by a council of alien governments because I know too much about a battle that never happened. There's something else, Zartek said quietly. The medal. It's not just any decoration. The Obsidian Medal of Strategic Excellence is only awarded for actions that fundamentally alter the balance of galactic power. Phoenix turned back to face them. Meaning? Velnara's harmonics carried ominous undertones. Whatever you did during Operation Silent Thunder was significant enough to change how the entire galaxy operates. And based on the response we're seeing, I don't think it was a change the Coalition was expecting. The conference room's lighting flickered as the station's main computer processed another wave of incoming priority communications. Through the viewport, Phoenix could see distant ships adjusting their course toward the Academy station, official vessels with the distinctive energy signatures of military escorts. They're scared, Phoenix realized aloud. All of them. The Saurians, the Hive, the Coalition High Command, they're not just curious about what I know. They're terrified of it. Velnara's massive form rippled with acknowledgement. The question is, should they be? Before Phoenix could answer, every alarm in the station activated simultaneously. But this wasn't the standard security alert from earlier. This was the deep, bone-shaking klaxon reserved for one specific emergency. Incoming warships, multiple contacts, battle configuration, and then the alarms started. The warships weren't coming to arrest Phoenix. They were coming to protect the station. Admiral Zara Nightfall's face materialized in the conference room's holographic display with the kind of timing that suggested she'd been monitoring their conversation from the beginning. Her Earth Defense Initiative uniform was crisp, despite the obvious signs that she'd been roused from sleep, and her dark eyes held the calculating intensity of someone accustomed to making decisions that affected entire star systems. "Cadet Blackwood," she said without preamble, "we need to talk. Now." Phoenix stared at the hologram. "Admiral, how did you—" The moment that metal case opened, every human military installation within 50 light-years received an automated alert. Operation Silent Thunder protocols don't just classify information, they actively monitor for security breaches. Nightfall's expression was grim. "The fact that you're sitting in that conference room alive and conscious means we have approximately 37 minutes before this situation becomes irreversibly complicated." Valnari's harmonics carried confused undertones. "Admiral Nightfall, with respect, this cadet is under Academy jurisdiction." "No," Nightfall interrupted. "They're not. Phoenix Blackwood died 11 months ago during the final phase of Operation Silent Thunder. What's sitting in your conference room right now is either an impossibility or a security breach so profound it threatens the stability of human-alien relations." Zarthek's claws extended involuntarily. "Explain." Immediately, the display shifted, showing star charts that Phoenix recognized with a jolt of inexplicable familiarity. The Kepler-88 system, but not as it appeared in official records. This version showed massive orbital installations, defense platforms, and the wreckage of what looked like several fleets. "Kepler-88 was never a mining operation," Nightfall said quietly. "It was humanity's first major defensive stand against a coalition expeditionary force. The siege lasted 18 months, cost 12 alien fleets, and ended with a human victory so decisive that the coalition agreed to classify the entire conflict rather than admit what happened." The silence in the conference room was absolute. "That's impossible," Valnara whispered. "The coalition has never lost a major military engagement. Our combined fleets represent the pinnacle of galactic military technology." "Your combined fleets," Phoenix said slowly, memory fragments clicking into place like puzzle pieces, "weren't designed to fight humans who had nothing left to lose." Admiral Nightfall nodded. "Phoenix was part of the final assault team that captured the coalition command ship. The mission was classified Obsidian because the tactical innovations developed during that operation were considered too dangerous for general knowledge." "What kind of innovations?" Zartek demanded. Phoenix answered before the Admiral could respond, words emerging from some buried corner of their mind. "Kinetic bombardment using civilian mining equipment. Electromagnetic warfare adapted from entertainment